Thank you, Santosh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the participants of this international webinar. And at the outset, I would like to congratulate all the ATSEP community for this International ATSEP Day, as well as IFATSEA for having grown 50 years old and still going strong. Congratulations to the ATSEP community and IFATSEA. And thanks for the Regional Director of APAC IFATSEA for organizing this webinar. Hope you are all able to listen to my voice. I have been running around for the past few days, based on the challenges that we are facing here in Chennai due to copious rains. However, I have coupled up some of my thoughts for this webinar, which is likely to provoke your thinking into the human factors of ATSEP. Let me share my presentation. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Perfect.
Yes, it's visible.
Thank you. Okay, I have been asked to speak on this topic, Grooming ATSEP for Innovation. This, in fact, is a very generic topic linking ATSEP with innovation. Why do we talk about innovation? What is that the ATSEP are supposed to do for innovating the various processes that they are involved in? That's the primary crux of this topic. As you all know, the human resource is the most complex resource to manage in any organization. The reason being, they are always live and kicking. Sometimes they do not confine themselves into set of rules as any other resource, be it financial or any other resource which do not have life will settle in. Life of individuals are predominantly dictated by preferences, likes, dislikes, love, hatred, jealousy, etc. Meaning that a myriad of psychological factors influence individual behavior. And in the ATSEP community, we are in a state where the group of specially skilled individuals have to perform so as to achieve a common goal for the organization, not only in the nationwide, but also encompassing the global requirements of civil aviation. Making such people, making these ATSEP perform tasks doesn't depend only on the knowledge and the skills, but definitely depends on their attitude. If someone is having the right attitude, he or she can develop the knowledge and the skills. But the reverse is not always true. A person with knowledge and skills does not ensure that he or she will always perform to the required potential. ATSEP are no different. They are also subjected to these human factors that influence their individual behavior, including their professional competency and behavior. And when these resources are to be managed, not only to perform the routine tasks of maintenance, servicing, providing operational support for the air navigation service provision, but also they have to be resilient enough to adapt the technology as well as the changes that can happen in their external environment. Why innovation? Innovation is a solution for achieving a sustainable development of civil aviation, ensuring safety and efficiency. The two paradigm requirements, safety and efficiency, are the basic fundamental requirements of any sustainable development of civil aviation. Why it is that we are choosing innovation as a tool to attain the sustainable development? Because the changes are always happening. The challenges are always there in any system. Challenges and individual needs keep manifesting into various dimensions and various forms. For example, the latest challenge which was perpetrated on the humankind is the COVID pandemic. And civil aviation had to perform within this environment of the globally affecting COVID pandemic. How do we respond? How do the ATSEP community respond? In the work environment, we were not able to remain indoors because we had to sustain the operations in all the airports. In the work environment, we are facing lots of challenges. For example, the tactile devices, which are touch sensitive devices, which are predominantly the human machine interface for the provision of air navigation services by the air traffic controllers, have suddenly become a threat. The air traffic controllers were psychologically so much affected that they started demanding individual headsets at their work positions, wherein they were happy sharing the same headsets earlier, much before the COVID broke out. Now, sanitizing these devices have become a challenge. Immediately, the work environment looks for solutions from ATSEP. How do we do this in order to make the working position safe for an ATCO? Immediately, we are expected to plan, procure those sort of devices from the market. We are faced with a challenge. And in fact, in Chennai, we have replaced 250 headsets in quick time, thereby ensuring and securing the ATCOs from the threat of COVID. This is a challenge, just an example of, there are plenty of challenges that we face during the service. And as I said, the individual needs, the challenges and the individual needs keep manifesting into different dimensions. The profile of the ATSEP workforce through a time period have undergone lots of changes. ATSEP workforce, in terms of their career goals, ambitions, preferences, and motivation, keeps changing all the time. If I look at the workforce that is happening, that is working in the air navigation service provision in Airports Authority of India, spanning over 30 to 35 years, we are having still some baby boomers, the Gen X, and the millennials. The change has been so phenomenal that different generation of people have to be trained in various tasks which have undergone transforming changes by way of technological changes. Technology is fast changing and every ATSEP is expected to keep pace with. That means they are expected to learn continuously throughout their service period. So we have a very young generation ATSEP joining today, straight from the college, to who has served for almost 40 years. Okay. Now we have to train all these people together. Even imparting training to ATSEP has become a challenging task. Most of the millennials prefer different modes of training as compared to their elders. Now, earlier we were very comfortable with the classroom type of training. Nowadays, most of the millennials, they prefer online training. They want the videos to be posted on their gadgets, and they want to learn at their own pace in their own environment. Now, as a training provider, the ATSEP community has to address, the training developers and the instructors have to address this requirement in order to sustain the motivation of learning. And the challenges that are being posed in the day-to-day life or in the service period of ATSEP in the provision of air navigation service provision, I have just jotted down some of them. Ever-growing air traffic and safety concerns. We keep hearing of lots of incidents and accidents, investigation reports, thereby the regulatory authorities and the global body of ICAO, they keep reviewing the standards and recommended practices and the guidance material in order to ensure that the air navigation service provision remains all the time safe in spite of tremendous growth of air traffic. We are trying to accommodate more number of air traffic within the limited volume of airspace. What does it transform into? It transforms directly into changing competency requirements. Earlier days when the air traffic was very less, there was not much need of situational awareness for an ATSEP in order to respond to a given operational situation. Now gone are those days that ATSEP were only required to be knowing the systems or the equipments which they are supposed to install, operate, and provide for the user community in terms of air traffic controllers or the airline operators. Now, in a changed environment, everything is integrated and the services are provided in an integrated environment. Under such conditions, in a heavy traffic scenario, given an operational problem, the ATSEP are expected to react in the most competent manner with adequate situational awareness, with adequate competency in engineering, with an ability to work in a team, with an ability to guide the team members and also provide quick solutions for the given operational environment. Hence, the changing competency requirements are ever increasing. Recognizing this, ICAO has brought out this framework of the competency matrix in terms of Doc 9868. Also, they have given, with the help of IFATSEA, they have given this document of Doc 10057. With the guidance of these two documents, we are trying to address the requirements of development of various competency of the ATSEP. And we are faced with heterogeneous workforce from the baby boomers to Gen X to the millennials. For how are we going to handle this heterogeneous workforce in a work environment with lots of preferences and biases? How are we going to get the best out of each of the individual? And sometimes, maybe I don't know about the other states, but at least personally I feel we do have sometimes inappropriate human resource policies affecting the career progression of an individual. As an engineer, somebody qualifies to become an ATSEP with some goals, with some ambitions. Unless the organization is addressing those things, appropriate HR policies, it is going to be a negative factor in the career of an ATSEP. This is a typical challenge which is maybe haunting many of the member states of ICAO. Evolving attitudinal changes. As I said, the various generations of ATSEP, because of the globalization and the changing cultural environment, they are having a lot of attitudinal changes as compared to their seniors. Sometimes they want instant gratification. The millennials, the present generation ATSEP, if they are not gratified or rewarded then and there, they feel left out. They do not continue to have the motivation levels. Whereas the elders, my generation people, so maybe the Gen X people, we used to wait for a reward. Nowadays, the individuals want instant gratification. Otherwise, the job market is also so much, they are having lots of options. The attrition rate will go up. There is a need for any organization to acquire the resource, train them, make them competent, and retain them for meaningful achievements. This is again a challenge. How are we going to solve these things? My thinking goes like this. These are just my thought process points. I have just enumerated this. There may be more solution options. Enroll people very young. If you are making them to be innovative, enroll them young towards research and development. How are we going to do this? We need to tie up. ATSEP job should not be limited to only procurement, installation, maintenance and operations of CNS ATM facilities. They need to be tied up with the academics and the research institutes for them to absorb the evolving technologies right from the academic institutions and the research institutes. And they should do this when they are young. If I have put more than 20-25 years of service in a department, based on the existing technologies, I may not be very competent or able to absorb the technological changes with academics or the research institutes. Follow an appropriate HR policies. Sometimes it happens that we recruit in an organization adds up in bulk numbers, thereby leading to lot of problems in terms of career progression. So recruitment in small numbers but regularly every year will be providing a growth path, a free-flowing growth path for the ATSEP to progress based on their work performance and the ability to compete with each other. Identify the aptitude for research and innovation right at the entrance. If somebody is having an aptitude for research and innovation, allow them to prove themselves. Provide an ecosystem in which they can apply themselves, be creative in order to improvise the processes that he is supposed to follow as an ATSEP engineer. Make ATSEP learn from best practices and be creative to improvise. When I say this, I mean that they should be made aware of the best practices globally. First thing in any learning is the awareness. We need to create the awareness in them as to what are the best practices available globally and allow them to absorb those best practices and apply their mind to be creative, more and more creative, and improvise based on their national and local requirements. Tie up with academic and research institutes. I think I have dealt with this. And collaborate with industry. Nowadays, we have in India lot of startups under the policy of the government of India. We have started collaborating with smaller company startups in developing something which is applicable for the civil aviation industry. For example, recently in Chennai, we have taken up a project for airside monitoring in order to monitor the runway incursions and other such incidents and provide alert systems for appropriate actions well in time, achieving an improvement in safety. Recognize in-house innovative ideas and support. Any innovative idea has to be supported, and the support has to be such a way that these ideas are conceptualized and realized as a procedure or as a product which can be applied in the job scenario. That sort of structure, that sort of a framework must exist in any organization for adequate recognition. Reward innovative developments. Once the developments are nurtured and they are proven to be efficient, effective, and safety critical and safety ensuring, then rewards are going to motivate those people who are involved in those developments. Ensure that intellectual property rights are protected. In India, I think this is a weak link. We do not protect adequately the intellectual property rights when any development happens. That is another stumbling block in making or motivating the ATSEP towards innovation. In a nutshell, if I have to conclude that every organization as an air navigation service provider, be it in India or any other state, we are expected to provide an ecosystem and develop an ecosystem and provide such an ecosystem for creative ideas to blossom and thrive. Then the ATSEP can definitely be very, very effective, and as it is recognized, they are a very important part of the safety chain in the air navigation service provision. They will further develop into great people providing lots of solutions for all the safety concerns and also improve the efficiency. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.